Well, again, good morning. It's good to have you with us this morning as we worship together. Let me go ahead and say right up front, if you are visiting with us, from what is going to occur from here forward is not normal. You usually don't get three preachers here spending time preaching before you. But we are going to be sharing with you some behind-the-scenes thoughts and prayers and ideas, principles that guide us as a church. And you're going to be able to hear from each of us about what we're about as a church. And so if you are visiting with us this morning, this is a good opportunity to sort of get behind the scenes, to get behind the curtain and say, here's what they're doing and here's why they're doing it. Some of you might, in fact, remember that the first of the year we tag-teamed a three-part series entitled What We Do, Following the Footsteps of Jesus. Jesus, of course, tremendously effective in touching the lives of people. In fact, everywhere he went, thousands and thousands of people came and they listened to him teach. And the question could be posed, why was Jesus so effective in his ministry? Why was it that the crowds were just drawn to him? Well, if you evaluate the ministry of Jesus, I'm certain you would find various facets that drew people to him. But I think there were three principles that I think are interwoven throughout his ministry that allowed people to see that Jesus was real, that Jesus loved people, and he wanted their lives to be changed. And so what we did, we took those three principles and we spoke about them each of those three Sundays. And what we want to do this morning is to go back and say, what did we say, and how has it influenced us as we continue to work through the process of this transition year? Not only this transition year, but how it affects us as a ministry. And so Luke and John are going to be coming and sharing with you some of the principles that we have tried to incorporate and how it has influenced us in the decisions that we have made and how we proceed and carry out our ministry here.
So in week one, we decided that it was very important to say that if we're going to start a series called What We Do, we wanted to clarify our purpose. We wanted to say, why do we do what we do? And we started with the verse of Scripture that we wanted to follow in the footsteps of Jesus and look at Jesus define his purpose. And we picked a verse out of Mark chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. And I just want to read that for you. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. And then he went on to say, when the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples a good question. And it started out with why. Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners? And so on hearing this, Jesus took an opportunity to clarify his purpose. He said, well, it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. See, Jesus came to seek out those people who felt unworthy or unwelcome or left out in church. And as a staff, we started talking about this, and we said, you know what, this should be our purpose. We need to have this value of seeking these people out and making a church for these people. And so we want our church to be a place for people who maybe feel, burnt out, left out, or maybe unwelcome when they come to a church. And we want to ask these people to maybe give church a chance. Or maybe you have given church a chance and you come back and say, maybe just give church a second chance or a third chance. And we want to invite our people here in Jeff City to be this kind of a place. And we don't want to invite you to just put up with this or tolerate this. We actually want you to embrace this value. And not just embrace this value, but to participate in this value. And John is going to show you a couple of ways that this value has impacted even our Sunday mornings.
All right, so how many of you have ever visited a church? How many of you have ever visited a church? Like it's your first time at a church. Surely you're here, so at least I think everybody has visited a church, right? You have experienced a first time at a church. And if you can with me, try to reflect back. Maybe you come to this church usually, but maybe you were away visiting family, doing something, and you visited another church. I want you to try to remember that experience. And here's what I know to be true, because I've even experienced this. Visiting a church can be really intimidating, right? Because you don't know exactly what's going to go on. Like, you don't know exactly where you should park. You're not really sure which door you're supposed to go into. Then if you've got to drop off kids, there's that thing that's lingering in the back of your mind the whole time. What are they going to do with my kids? Are my kids going to be okay? Right? Then you get into the service, and you're like, when am I supposed to stand up? When am I supposed to sit down? During this part, what am I supposed to be thinking? What am I supposed to be doing? It can be a really, really stressful experience to what Luke said, give church a chance. So there's lots of little things that we're doing to try to embrace this value, but there's a couple of things that you all have seen, and I want to kind of explain them within this context. First of all, those of you who are sitting in the pews, you can see this thing in front of you. You see the top of it, right? It says New here. If you're sitting in the very, very back, like up against the wall, I'm sorry, you probably can't see it, but just peek over the people's shoulders in front of you and you can see one of these. But you can see this thing here. It says New here, right? And what you do, when you open it up, it starts to tell you a little bit about the church. Go ahead and grab one. Anybody can grab one. These are not like off limits to anybody, okay? You can grab them. Feel free to play with the toys. You look in there and it starts to explain a little bit about the church, right? And then, if you're really, really nervous about what's going to be going on here, you can look over to the far right of it, and it says what to expect, right? And it explains a little bit about our service, a little bit about what you do in the different parts of the service, about the sorts of things that you can expect to be going on during this service. The point of this piece is not to be some just pretty thing that we're doing. It's not just a trend. It's not just a flashy thing. It's not just a, hey, be impressed with us because we got glossy, thick paper and an awesome graphic. That's not what it's about. It's about helping people who are giving church a chance. And it's about helping you embrace that. Because here's the thing. Not only do we want you to know what it is, feel free to take one. If you've got a neighbor, if you've got a coworker, if you've got somebody in your life you might be inviting to church, feel free to take one of these and hand it to them and say, hey man, if you're thinking about giving church a chance, you can kind of check things out right here. So that's one of the things that we're doing. Let me give you a second thing that we're doing. And this one's a little bit more intimidating to us, but here's the reality. The reality is most people in this world, not just Christians, but most people in this world are doing everything through their phone. They're communicating and connecting on their phone. They're reading the news on their phone. They're looking at videos on their phone. They're catching up. And they're binge watching TV shows on their phone. And so we said to each other, what if we had some place in that space on a phone where we could communicate with people? And it was not only a tool for our people, but it was also a way we can connect with others. So I want to walk you through the Bible app that we've been talking about. So a lot of you have downloaded it. So I want to show you a few things on the screen here, some of the stuff. So first of all, the Bible app looks like this. It's Holy Bible, right? Not very creative, but it is what it is. By YouVersion. If you want to download it from your app store, it's the Bible app from YouVersion. It's the most popular one in the world. If you go on to the next screen, if you click that, then this is what you're going to see. It's their menu. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's the More button, and you hit that More button, and then you're going to see this next screen. It's a More menu. The events is where you can find us each Sunday. So you click on the events, and then when you click on the events, you're going to see this. Now, before I go on to where you click to get to our stuff, I want you to see the saved events thing. Because some of you have asked, like, hey, after church service, it disappears and I can't find it. Well, if when you go to it and open it up, because in just a second you're going to see a little save button, if you hit save, this is where you can find all of your previous ones. If you've taken any notes, you can find all of your previous ones at any time in the saved events folder, okay? So let's go on to the next one. You hit that little button, Jeff City Church, when you can discover it on Sunday morning. And when you do that, this next screen is what you're going to see. See, there's the save button at the very top on the right. If you hit that save button, it's like taking your bulletin home, okay? It's like putting your bulletin on the refrigerator. You're always going to have access to it. You're going to be able to pull it up. But this is something else on this page that I want you to notice. If you go on to the next screen, look right there in the middle, Share Event. This is not just something where you can get information, but all of your friends who are on their phones all the time and using their phones for everything, you can share this with them. And they can check things out. And it's going to help them because look at this next screen. When they scroll down just a little bit on our app, what's your Sunday service like? Announcements, what things are going on in your church? We'd love to get to know you. They can click on that and a little form will pop up and they can communicate with us. If you go on down to the next slide, you're going to start seeing things about the songs that we're going to be singing. You all can get to know those songs and know who those people are that are singing them. You can see what the sermon is going to be. And if you go to the next slide, this is a really important component. If you click on any of those Bible verses, you can open it up and read more of the chapter. But then on the next slide, there's even a place where you can add notes and type in notes. And if you type some notes from a sermon that you think are really helpful, maybe help one of your friends, I want to remind you, go to the next slide and you'll see this. Remind you, you can share this with your friends, and they'll even see the notes that you've taken. These are not just trendy things that we're doing. They're not just ways to try to keep up with people. These are ways to communicate with people and ways to help not only you, but also the people who are trying to give church a chance. A couple of the many ways that we're trying to help reach out to those who feel far from God.
The second, we asked the question, how was it that Jesus was so effective with his ministry? Believe it or not, they didn't have brochures and apps back then. But interestingly enough, we asked this question, why is it that the people who had the most problem with the religious leaders of that day and religion loved hanging out with Jesus? They seemed to love hanging out with Jesus and talking to Jesus and being with Jesus. And we kind of pinpointed on this value that Jesus had of meeting people where they were on common ground. Jesus had this knack to meet people where they were on common ground. And we share with you this verse in Luke chapter 7 where it says that John the Baptist, which is a disciple of Jesus, and we wanted to just kind of show you the differences between even his own followers and what Jesus did. John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and you say he's a demon. The Son of Man, he came eating and drinking, and you say, here's a glutton and a drunkard, and a friend of tax collectors and sinners. And it's interesting that they start asking these questions and they start doubting Jesus and what the Messiah is and who the Messiah is and what he should act like. And it's because a lot of things had been written. Those religious leaders had read a lot of stuff about the Messiah. They had a lot of things in their mind of what they had said the Messiah should be like because they had read and they had studied and things. But what's interesting is they had never met the Messiah. They did not meet the Messiah until they met Jesus one-on-one, in person. And the people of that day never met the Messiah until they sat down and they ate with Jesus and they drank with Jesus and they talked with Jesus. And we started saying, you know, this has some value for us. Because a lot of things have been written about Christians. A lot of things have been written today about church and about what we're like and about what we do and how we are. But let me just tell you something. They do not know Christians until they've met a Christian. They do not know Jeff City Christian Church until they meet someone here. Sit down with them. Talk with them one-on-one. They can read a lot of things. Some things good, some things maybe bad. But they don't know you until they sit down with you one-on-one and build a relationship. And we talked about this and we said, you know what? We want to invite you people, the people here, to embrace this value of meeting people one-on-one, embracing the value of sitting down with people and meeting people on common ground. And again, John's just going to come up here and show you and tell you about a couple of ways that we do that and how this value has impacted the ministries that we have here.
I want you to do something, maybe at some point this week. I want you to read the Gospels, right? The first 4 books of the New Testament. And I want you to notice something. I want you to notice how many stories start off, so Jesus was at this guy's house. So Jesus was eating with these people. So Jesus was having a drink with these people. It's amazing how recurring that theme is throughout his ministries. And we believe that he's given us a model for ministry. We believe that's what he's doing. We've come to say this. Rows are great. This is what we're doing on Sunday. This is great. The circles are better. Rows are great, but circles are better. Circles, I can say that. Circles are where you find common ground. And so we've been investing some time and some energy and some prayer in small groups. We've been doing some different things. Some people have been trying some different types of groups. A lot of people have been opening up their home, and they've been doing things in their home. And I want to show you a couple of pictures of my group. And I don't want to embarrass my group, but I'm going to embarrass my group, okay? I want to show you a couple things. If you go to this first picture of some folks who are meeting in my group, it's probably going slow, isn't it, Robert? There it is. Okay, I promise we have men in our group, but the men don't want to squeeze together on the sectional couch. It's very uncomfortable, and so the women feel comfortable. comfortable doing that. But this is my group, and they're awesome. We've had a ton of fun. We've gotten to know each other. We've done some great studies together over the last 4 years. This is April over here on the far left. April is someone, I think she's the only one who appreciates it when Brooke and I make jokes about 90s hip hop. And so I thank you for doing that, April. Amy is right here next to her, and Amy has been so just foundational in helping us be fed every week. She makes sure everybody knows the food plan, and that's a wonderful thing. Caroline's in the middle. She just joined the group about a year ago, and Caroline has already made us laugh and cry, telling us stories about her wonderful son, Grayson. That's Stacy there beside Caroline. Stacy makes some incredible ham rolls. I mean, they are really, really good. These are stuff that I would never know about people if I weren't in small group with them. The one beside Stacy is my beautiful wife, Brooke. And I can't help but cry a little when I see her. She's the one who somehow gets the house ready and keeps it clean for small group, even though me and the kids try to sabotage her attempts every week. She prepares for that group. And I want to tell you a little story about the last one you see there, Miss Diana Price. About a couple of years into our small group, we started talking to our group because it's great for us to have this group, this circle where we come together and we study together, we get to know each other, we throw baby showers for each other. That's awesome. But I brought this idea of like, hey guys, I want us to also have the heart to keep providing these spaces for people. Maybe even some of you in this group, I think you're capable to lead. And they started hearing me wanting to bust up the group. And then all of a sudden, I felt like they were going to take me out and tar and feather me. They were mad. They're like, don't be busting up our group. This is a terrible idea. But then maybe a year after that, Diana started getting the heart. Maybe God was putting on her this desire to help young couples. So she started placing a few calls, and she started realizing, she and Ben began to pray about this and think about this, and they realized that maybe God was calling them to create a space, a common ground, a group for young couples. And so they've partnered with Luke and Michelle, and they're opening up another home to start another group, and we're so excited. We're sad they're leaving us. Let me show you another picture of the group. This is actually a time when the men were convinced to sit on the sectional with the women, so that's kind of funny that they did that. But there in the middle are Chip and Jana. A lot of you know Chip and Jana. This is another couple that's leaving us, but they're leaving us for a good reason. They've decided that they have a heart for providing a place for college students. And so they're opening up their home and creating common ground for college students. I could go on and on. There's so many little stories like this. The Hydes started a group a few years ago, and that group became so strong that when things have gotten so difficult in their lives that it's going to be hard for them to lead, another couple in their group said, hey, this is too important. We're going to help keep this going. And there's lots of little stories like that going on. And we're so thankful that we're catching this idea, this spirit, and this mimicking, this following of Jesus to create common ground so that we can walk together and grow together in this faith.
And so the last question we asked was a pretty good question. It was who's in charge? And to do this, we found a verse that I think is kind of humorous because I see a lot of parents in sports. And it's funny because the disciples started talking about who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. They started talking about who's going to be in charge of the kingdom once Jesus is gone? Who's going to be the best? Who's going to be on the right and left-hand side of Jesus? They must be pretty important. And so they started talking about us, and when they couldn't come to a consensus of who Jesus would let be first, they got their mamas involved. And so they said, mamas got involved. Hey, could you do this first, son? And so this is a verse kind of that talks about this. It's a rather long verse, so stick with me while I read this. It's a very good one in Mark chapter 10, verse 35 through 45. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. Teachers, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. What do you want me to do for you? He asked. Let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory. You don't know that you are asking. Can you drink the cup that I drink or be baptized with the baptism that I'm baptized with? We can't, they answered. But Jesus said to them, you will drink the cup that I drink and be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with. But to sit on my right hand or my left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared. When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. They called them together and said, Jesus called them together and he said, those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them. Their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be a slave for all. For even the Son of Man, and this is what I want you to catch, did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. You know, one thing that I really love about Jesus is he was totally honest. He was completely honest about what Christianity was. He wasn't a salesman. He didn't come out trying to sell something. He wasn't selling a religion for people to buy into. He was simply honest about true Christianity. And the honest truth is, Christianity is about having a relationship with Jesus Christ, a committed relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. And that was simply what he was talking about. And sometimes they heard what a committed relationship looked like, and they said, man, this is hard. This is difficult. And Jesus was honest and said, yes, it is. It is difficult to have a committed relationship. But here's the thing. If we truly believe in the purpose of Jesus Christ, and if we believe that the best way to do his purpose is to do this, embrace this value, and to achieve his purpose is to reach out to people, to be with people, to commit to eating at tables and sharing in the lives of people. If we really believe that's the best way to accomplish his purpose, the only result and the only response that I can have as a person is to say, I want to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. I got to do this. I have to put these things into practice in my life. That's what we have to do. And so we talked about this, and we said, you know what? This is not an invitation. We don't want to just make this an invitation. We actually want to take this opportunity to thank a bunch of people who are already here and doing this. Because there are so many people that you have met this morning that make this church go every Sunday morning, every Wednesday night, small groups. There are so many people in this congregation who have joined this church and said, you know what? I don't want to just come to be served. I want to come to serve. And so John, we cannot mention everybody. I promise you, there are so many people here who give their lives and give their times. Couldn't mention everybody. But John wanted to come up here and just mention a few of these people and highlight these people and thank these people.
All right, so this first guy you've already seen today, I want to show you a picture of him. He did our communion meditation for him. We said a while back, you know what, we need a place where people can go and get a really academic, deep Bible study. And we want to create that space, and we've got some ideas. And Greg said, you know what, I'll take that on and I'll keep that organized. And JC3 University was born because of that on Wednesday nights, and it's been such a blessing to so many people. This next picture that you're going to see is really representative of lots of different people. This is somebody working down in Kidsway. This is Beth Ball. She represents one of many, many people who spend time working with kids. You heard some of their names even mentioned in the baptism videos because they are getting in these people's lives at a young age and teaching them the Word of God and modeling for their service. And we say thank you to all of you. This next picture that you're going to see up here is our crew. Rain or shine, they are out there welcoming people. They're letting people know who are giving church a chance. We're glad you're here. We were expecting you, and we want to help you get into this place. This next picture that you're going to see is some really committed people who help our youth. And they took the youth. This is a picture of them that a couple weeks ago, they took them on a youth retreat. They're crazy for doing this. They're crazy for taking 40 junior hires and middle schoolers out to the middle of nowhere. I knew that one of them was going to get killed or lost, but they just did it anyway. Because they want them to know about Jesus, and they want them to know about that they're loving them. My favorite thing about this picture is everybody's listening to Luke, and Luke is giving some really important information, except for one person. So if you go to the next slide, I'll point that person out. Right there in the middle of the screen, she saw the camera, and she decided to cheese for it. She was like, I know you're giving some important information, Luke, but I'm going to smile for this. That's Lindsay Arnott, so she's funny. This next one, while church services are going on, people are doing so many different things. There are people running soundboard, people running lights, people doing lyrics, people in all different kinds of places taking care of administrative tasks that have to be done. And we're so thankful for them. And this next one you're going to see, I love this next picture because it shows two of our great teachers that are giving of their hearts and their lives. Miss Barry Evans is using a gift that God has given her to be a financial coach. And she's a master coach for Financial Peace University. And she's leading a group. And Miss Sarah Smith has been doing for several years now this wonderful group of women, and it's such an important part of their life, and they just kept doing it and kept doing it. It's all because all of these people, and if you didn't get up there this time, you'll get up here next time we do this, okay? Don't be mad. Listen to me. It's all because somebody said, hey, I want to serve. I just want to follow Jesus. I can promise you this. If you see us doing something, whether it's a staff decision or a ministry that we've tried to start, it's not because it's new and cool. It's not because we favor one generation over the other. It has nothing to do with that. It's because we know that there is a lost world out there, and we want to reach them. And we want to do that together as a church. Thank you for what you're doing. I hope that we can together follow in the footsteps of Jesus and reach this world for him.
On his face in the garden, Jesus cried out to his heavenly Father, Father, if it's possible, may this cup be taken from me. Earlier in his ministry, he said these words, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. And finishing this work meant not doing his will, but the will of his heavenly Father. And it is our ambition, it is our desire, it is our fervent prayer that we as staff, that we as elders, that we as a church say, not my will, Father, but yours be done. Can you imagine the divine and spiritual synergy that would occur if every person who is a member of Jefferson City Christian Church, every person who attends this church would simply say, Father, I want your will to be accomplished through my life and through the life of Jefferson City Christian Church. I want this not to be Bob's will or the staff will, the elders' will. God, we want your will to be done. And if we submit ourselves to the leadership of the Holy Spirit, I'm convinced that the best days are ahead for this church. What I want to be able to do is at the end of this year to be able to just slip out into the sunset and just let this ministry continue on and continue to grow and continue to multiply. And I'm convinced if we as a body of believers will say, Father, this is not my will, I want your will to be done in this body. In fact, what I would like to do for just a moment is just lead us in a short prayer, and you audibly say these words, and I will lead you in them, and you just repeat them back. And I pray that they would be real, that they would be meaningful for each of us. So let's just pray together. Father, not my will, but yours be done. Father, I pray that we would mean it, that everything that we do, everything that we strive to accomplish, will be under your leadership and your oversight, that your Spirit will guide us in everything that we do, so that your Son, Jesus Christ, can be lifted up and be glorified through what we do here. For you promised us if we lift you up, you will draw others to you. So, Father, may your will be done. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. If perhaps you have a decision that you would like to make that will allow God to more fully work his will in your life, whatever that decision might be, we invite you to come. I'm going to be here. John is going to be here. Luke is going to be here. We would be pleased to share with you more about what we're doing in this ministry. So let's stand and let's just sing this wonderful song, I Surrender All to Him.